This one will be a little bit different from the others because I'm recording this now about 3 weeks after I have passed my PCAP certification exam. And back when I was preparing, I did not record because I did not want to risk losing time recording all the explanations because this exam result affects your certification exam discount. And I didn't want to risk losing that, especially considering this exam is pretty time intense. You have 60 questions to cover in 60 minutes, one question per minute, compared to on average you would have in normal exams something like 1.5 minutes per question or even more relaxed than that. So on one side, I'm doing this the second time right now, and I will try to explain as much as I can considering the time pressure. But on the other time, it's been few weeks right now already after I did this exam, so I might have forgot something. And okay, let's see how it goes. Python Essentials, final test. What is true about the following line of code? We have print length of a tuple. So we have a tuple here with just one item there, and the length of this is 1. This code should output 1. What is the expected output of the following piece of code? So what we have here is just maths, right? So let's see. In order of precedence, first has to be done these divisions, right? And 1 divided by 2 will be 0 because this is the integer division. And this division will produce 0.5 because this is the float division. Then what we have 1 plus 0 plus 1.5, this will be 1.5 plus 2. Overall, this will result in 3.5, and this value will be printed. What is true about the following code snippet? We have a function defined with parameters awkwardly listed as par2 and then par1, and then we return the sum of these parameters. Okay, and then we call this function with par1, par2 indicated value, and then the value presumably for parameter 1. This is not legal. You cannot do like that. When you have a function with mixed positional and keyword parameters, you should pass arguments in the specific order. First, you need to pass all the positional arguments like this one, and then you can pass the keyword arguments. So this code is erroneous. If you want to write a byte array content to a stream, which method can you use? That method is called write. Okay. You use write to write pretty much anything, including a byte array. Knowing that the function named f resides in the module named m, and the code contains the following import statement from f import m. Choose the right way to invoke the function. So I see a problem here. So the function is f, right? And the module is m. And if we would want to import the function from the module, that should have been reversed. That should have read from m, from module m, import f, the function f. And this way, as it is indicated here, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So the function cannot be invoked because the import statement is invalid. What is the expected behavior of the following snippet? We have a try block. We raise an exception, accept, accept, accept. Okay, there is a problem with this code because when you have multiple accept clauses, like here, all the named exception clauses must go before the default exception block, which is this one. You should not put the exception, the general exception, the default exception block before more specific exception blocks. So this code will cause an error, and I believe this will be a syntax error, but I'm not quite sure. What is the expected behavior of the following code? We import OS module, okay? We make dirs, pictures, thumbnails, and we remove rmdir pictures. Okay, so what we do here, rmdirs will create the full folder structure or directory structure for us. So not only the thumbnails directory, but also the directory above it, pictures. And then what we do, we remove these pictures. Not exactly sure about this. I may make mistake here, but it will, I think it will delete. So we have the options of the code will delete both the pictures and thumbnails directories. The code will delete pictures directory only, which doesn't make sense because, yeah, thumbnails is a subfolder. It will raise an error or it will delete these thumbnails. So the real question here, at least for me here, is whether this function rmdir will remove and delete a non-empty directory pictures, because pictures is a non-empty directory. It has a subdirectory thumbnails in it, and I believe what it will do, it will not delete it, right? I think this code will raise an error. What is the expected output of the following code located in the file module.py? So we print name, and what will be printed is main, because this is the value which this variable will always have if you just invoke this file directly, right? It will always have main. It will have different values only in case you are importing this file, let's say as a module. Which of the following functions provided by the OS module are available in both Windows and Unix? We need to select two answers. Okay, so what you can do in both Windows and Unix operating systems, you can create directories and you can change directory. Change the current working directory. GID is a Unix thing. This is the identifier of a file or folder object. And groups are, it is also the user group is on the file system level is the well, it's Unix concept, but Windows also has that, but Python doesn't have interface with it. So these two things are both functional within Windows and Unix. What can you do if you want to tell your module users that a particular variable should not be accessed directly? So you should start its name with either 1_ or _, aka downder in Python. And this is the indication, right? They are different in a way. If you started with just 1_, this is just a convention, right? So it is perfectly accessible for whoever uses your module. But giving this prefix of the underscore, you kind of give people a hint. Hey, you're not supposed to access this directly, right? Dunder is more stronger. It is more strong, and it will not be accessible this way. It will only be accessible through what's called a name mangling, and I will not go into details of that. If you want to know a bit more of that, just watch some of the previous videos. Start its name with the capital letter no, use its number instead of its name. There is no such thing. Build its name with lowercase letters only. So yeah, these options are not correct. If there is a finally branch inside the try block, we can say that okay, I'm a little bit confused what inside means here, because try block finishes, and then it is followed by maybe some except blocks, maybe else block, and then maybe the finally block, but it's not really inside the try. Anyway, I'm going to assume that this finally is properly syntactically written and attributed to the try block. The finally branch will always be executed, and that's what looks like the correct answer. The finally branch won't be executed if no exception is raised. No will be executed when there is no else branch. No won't be executed if any of the branches is executed. Yeah, so finally is just always executed, no matter what. What is the expected output of the following piece of code? We have XYZ 3 to 1, and we change the values, right? So we change the values. We have X, Y, Z, and we have them as 3 to 1. And what we do, we assign X to Z. So X to Z will be like that. We assign Y to Y, and then we assign Z to X, or the other way around. So it's basically, so Y will remain the same. And yeah, so this basically reverses the values, and it's actually quite clear from here. And then we print them in this order X, Y, Z. So we should receive 1, 2, 3 as the result. It's actually a very simple question. What is the expected output of the following snippet? We define a dictionary, and we add 2 items into the dictionary with the specific keys, and each item is a list in its turn. So we then go over the keys in the dictionary, and we print a dictionary item with this key, and then with index 1. Because within this list, we have indexes starting from 0, 0, 1. So what that should print, this will print 2, and then it will print 4, because every time we refer to the item with the index 1. So that will print 2, 4. What is the expected output of the following code? From datetime, import datetime. And then we define a datetime, okay? And we print datetime in a specific format. And of course, this is a question where we need to select the specific format, how this will be printed. So capital Y means it will be printed as a full year, 2019. So it's either of these 3 options, okay? Then M, the small m, I think this will print the numeric representation of the month. So probably this one. And then the day. And then the time is all the same. So time is not really important here. Day is all the same. So basically all this question boils down to what does small m do? Okay. And I might be wrong, but as far as I can recall, this actually produces the numeric number for the month. And either this probably, again, if I'm not wrong, this will be produced by percentage B, small b, and this will be produced by percentage capital B. I forget about this, I may be wrong. I will go with this option. If it's not correct, we will see. What is the expected behavior of the following code? We have X and we print it. Okay, so we have a string here which is not correctly defined because this backspace is the escape character, and what the quote which follows it just produces just one quote as part of the string. So we have the opening quote, we have the quote as a string, but what is missing here is the closing quote. So this is not properly defined string, and this code will cause an error. What is the expected output of the following code? we import calendar, we create the calendar object, and the first day of the week we specify Sunday as the first day of the week. And then for weekday, in iter weekdays, what we do, we print weekday. So iter weekdays will produce a sequence of numbers, okay, for the weekdays. And this sequence of numbers, these numbers, they are kind of they are nailed to specific days of the week, and 0 is nailed to be Monday, right? So then 0 is always Monday, right? And because we have indicated this calendar to start from Sunday, actually it will put Sunday before Monday, right? And the rest will be just the rest of the days of the week, and that should be the correct answer, right? Yeah, and basically one another thing which again I can kind of mentally confirm this is the correct answer, that the weekdays are numbered starting from 0 in the calendar module. So that should be the correct answer. The exception class contains a property named args. What is it? It is a tuple, right? So whenever you invoke an exception with maybe some parameters, you can invoke with multiple parameters. It will store this as a tuple internally, and you can actually access it with the args property, and it's a tuple. What is the expected result of executing the following code? We have a class defined, we have a constructor, we have one function defined, and another function defined here. Okay. So without even going even further, what I can see here, there is no problem with function f, but there is a problem with the function g, especially considering that this function tries to access the self variable, and self variable, the parameter, it is used to pass the object itself. In this case, this will be the small a object into the function then to be operated upon, right? And the problem here that it is not indicated here in the parameters. So this function definition is not correct for this function code, and this will cause an error. So this code will raise an exception. What is the expected output of the following snippet? So what we have here, we have a simple list comprehension. I for I in range from 0 to -2. So we have from 0 to actually -2, and -2 is here. What range will try to do, it will try to generate a sequence of numbers starting from 0, going to the right until -2. So that doesn't make any sense. So this will just generate an empty list, right? If we would use a step parameter here, range has a third parameter, step, and this could be like -1, for example, that would be another story. But we don't have that. And that basically means that this list comprehension will generate an empty list, and length of this list will be 0, and this 0 will be printed by the print command. What is the expected output of the following code? We define a tuple t. Then what we do, we redefine this tuple as a sum of item number 0 and again added with the same item. So t with the index of 0 produces 1, because this is just a number, and this is just an integer number, and this produces again the same 1, which means that t will have the value of 2, right? The important piece in this question is to understand that you are taking a value out of the tuple with this construction, right? You basically extract the integer out of this tuple. So 1 plus 1 equals 2. That's how they say in the elementary school, and that will be printed. What is the expected output of the following code? From datetime, import time delta. Okay. And we define time delta as weeks and days and hours. So it's a delta of 1 week, 7 days, which makes it kind of 2 weeks, and 11 hours, and then we print it. Okay, let's see the options. 7 days, 11 hours. Well, it's actually not 7 days, it's more 2 weeks, 11 hours, 1 week, 7 days, 11 hours, and 14 days, 11 hours. Okay, so this is basically the question of, do you remember how time delta is printed, how output is formatted? I hope I do, and I remember that it will indicate the number of days, like that, 14 days. It will not kind of convert days to weeks. It will just have days, however long your time delta is. It could be years and years, and it will print like 5,000 something days, right? It will use days, and then time will be indicated in just this 24-hour format with minutes and seconds. So I think this should be the correct answer. What is the expected output of the following code? We define a function. We have the string defined for I in range. This string is added with the asterisk, and we yield it. Okay, then we use this function as a generator in our for loop, right? And just print x. Okay, let's see what will happen here. I recall having some such function. So what it will do, it will start with an empty string s, and until 3 times. So there will be 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. No, there will be no third iteration. There will be just 0, 1, 2 iterations for this range, right? So this loop starts and it has 0, 1, 2 iterations. On the first iteration, the string value will be empty string plus asterisk, which makes it asterisk, right? And this is yielded, okay? So let's put yield here. So this asterisk is yielded here. Next iteration, we add one more asterisk to S. So it makes it 2 asterisks, and it is yielded again. And then these 2 asterisks are yielded, okay? And then the final iteration, we add one more asterisk to the S, which makes it 3 asterisks, and this value is yielded here, which adds 3 more asterisks here. Overall, what we have is 6 asterisk characters printed, and that should be that answer. What is the expected behavior of the following piece of code? We have x defined as 16, while x is more than 0, print asterisk, and then end x divided equals 2. Okay, let's see. We have x, right? And it is 16. 16 is more than 0. We have 1 asterisk printed, and then we redefine it as divided by 2, which will be 8, right? And with 8 is still more than 0. We print 1 more asterisk. And then again, we redefine it, recalculate it as divided by 2 as 4. 4 is more than 0. We print yet another asterisk. Okay, then redefine it as 2. 2 is more than 0. We print 1 more asterisk. And so forth methodically we divide 2 by 2, we receive 1. And with 1 being more than 0, we print 1 more asterisk. And finally here, when we divide 1 by 2, and this is the integer division, what it will do, it will produce 0. So because 1 divided by 2 is 0 with the remainder of 1, in this case remainder is ignored, and we only receive 0. And 0 is greater than 0, this is not true anymore because x cannot be equal 0, right? So what do we get overall? We get 5 asterisks printed. Okay, it's interesting how we got 2 questions with asterisk printed one after another, but I guess that's just a chance. 5 asterisks should be this response. What is the expected output of the following code? My string 1 is Bond, my string 2 is James Bond. So we print my string 1 is alpha, my string 2 is alpha. So is alpha checks whether all characters in your string are alphabetical characters, which are basically letters of the alphabet, whether small letters or capital letters. And for string 1, this will be true, right? Because Bond is all characters. For string 2, it will not be true because there is a space there, and space is not an alpha character. So what this print will output is true, false. And this is this option. Which operator would you use to check whether 2 values are equal? This is very simple. Double equal sign used to check for the values. If S is a stream opened in read mode, the following line, Q equals S read lines, will assign Q as a string. No. So when we are reading from a text file, there is the function which is called readLine, and this returns a string, and then you can kind of repeat this function and read file line by line. But when you use this called readLines, what I believe it returns is a list of strings, all the strings from the text file, all the same time, presented as a list of strings. So the type of this, I believe, will be list. Which of the following sentences is true about the snippet below? We have str1 defined as string, and we define str2 as string with the, yeah, okay. So this is slicing, right? And what this slicing construction does, it out of this string, it takes all the characters from the beginning until the end, because there is no boundary specified. And string 2 will basically have the same value as string. Now let's see what questions we need to answer. String 2 is longer than string 1. No, they are the same. String 2 and string 1 are different names of the same string. No, this is not correct, because what we do here, we copy the values, right? Str1 is longer than str2. Again, this is not correct, and this should be the correct answer. String 1 and string 2 are different but equal strings, and this is exactly correct. What is the expected behavior of the following snippet? We have my string A, B, C, D, E, F. We define a function which does something, and then what we do, we print function of my string. Okay, we pass my string here as a parameter, as an argument into the function fun, and what this function does, it tries to delete the character at index 2, basically this C character here, What will happen? It will fail because strings in Python are immutable. You cannot change individual characters in a string, addressing them by their index. You cannot change them, you cannot delete them. The only thing you can do, you can create a new string and copy full or some parts of your initial string into it, right? So this will cause an error. How many stars will the following snippet send to the console? Okay, let's see what we have here. We have I as 4. We have while I is more than 0. Okay, I will need to track the values here. So what we have, I is 4, right? While it is more than 0, we subtract it by 2, so it changes the value of I to 2. It prints an asterisk, right? And then it, if I equals 2, and it is equal to, it breaks the loop, all right? And of course, the real question is whether this command will be executed in the else clause for the while loop. Well, as a matter of fact, I think I recall that this else block in while or for loops is only executed when the loop is completed kind of normally, right? It was not broken out of. So the break here executed means that this else will not be executed, and it means that so we will only have one asterisk printed, the second will not be there, and the answer should be 1. What is the expected output of the following snippet? We have A as true, B as false. I think we will need to track them a little bit. A as true and B as false. A equals A or B. So true or false will be true, and we put this value into A. B equals A and B. So A true and B, so true and false, will result in false, and this value will be put in B over here. And then A equals A or B, again, true or false will result in true, and this value will be put into A. And then we print the values, print A and B. So this will print true, false, this option. What is the expected output of the following snippet? We have a tuple, 1, 2, 3, 4 integers. We do some slicing with it, and we'll need to understand what happens when we do the slicing. Okay, let's see what this line will produce. What we do, we slice from index -1 to index -2. So -1 will be this index, -2 will be that index. All right? Which will produce the tuple of from -2, which will include this number 3. And then -1, this will not be included because in slicing the rightmost border value is not included. So it will produce only tuple which looks like that with only one item 3. Okay. Then what we do on this line, we access -1th item in the tuple, and this will be the last item, and the only item in this tuple, this number 3. So the value of t here will be just integer 3, and this integer will be printed, and it will be printed like that without any parentheses, without any commas, anything like that. So this is just an integer 3 as an output. What is the expected output of the following piece of code if the user enters 2 lines containing 1 and 2 respectively? Okay, a bit of trick here, I think, because y will have the value of 1 and this will be a string, and x will have the value of 2, and this is also a string. And when we put together x and y, they are strings, so this is a string concatenation. What we get as a string of 2, 1. They are reversed here just for convenience, I guess. Yeah, but the answer is 2, 1. What is the expected result of executing the following code? We have classes defined: class A, class B, and class C, which inherits from both A and B. Okay, what we do, we create an object of class C, and we call the method C of that class. Okay, let's see what will be happening here. When we call this method, this C method is called, right? And it, in its turn, invokes the self method A. What this invocation will do, first of all, it will try to find the method A in itself, in the object of class C. It's not there, and that's why it will look in the parent class, and the parent classes will be checked in order from left to right. So it will check here in class A first, and it will find this method A there, and it will print A. Yeah, so pretty much that's it. It will just print A, I believe. What is the expected output of the following snippet? We have class X defined, class Y, and class Z, and they are inherited in chain. X is an object of class X, Z is an object of class Z, and we print is instance X of Z and is instance Z of X. Okay, so is instance X of Z. X is a more general class and Z is more specific. So this will result in false because no, X is more general and Z is more specific class. This will not be the instance of. And the other way around is Z, so the object of class Z is also instance of class X, and this is correct because we have the inheritance chain, right? So this will result in true, and the output will be false true, this option. What is the expected output of the following code? We have class A, and A equals 1. We have init, and we have set function, right? Let's see what will be happening here. We define an object of class A, object A. It will, so there are a couple things happening when we do this. When we call the constructor, it will define the value of the V, the attribute V as value V, which is taken from here as default, which is 2 plus the class value plus 1. So it will 2 plus 1, it will be equal 3. And by the way, A dot A, and this is the class variable, it is 1 for now. Okay. What the next thing, what it will do, it will increment by 1 this value here. So this will change to 2, right? So we have done with this line. The next line is A set 2. So we call this method here. What this method does, it takes this value V, this one, and increments this by this value V passed here by 2. So it will make it 5. Okay. The next thing it does, it increments by 1 the class variable. So it will make A dot A as 3. Okay, and then it returns nothing. Okay, that's fine, no problem with that. And then we just print the value AV, and that should print just 5. That will be my answer. The meaning of keyword argument is determined by both name and value assigned to it. It is not the position. This is for positional arguments. Connection with existing variables doesn't mean anything. And value only, keyword is keyword, right? It has a name. What is the expected output of the following snippet? We have a dictionary 1, 3, 2 for x in sorted by values. We print this key. Okay. So what it does, the values will return, I believe, a list or some kind of iterable of values, which will be, let's say maybe it's a list 1, 3, 2, right? This what the values returns. Then it is sorted, which will result in 1, 2, 3, and the k is taken from here, just from this list, right? And it is printed with the space after it, right? So it will print 1, 2, 3 as a sequence. What is the expected behavior of the following code snippet? My list is 1, 2, 3, 4. My list. Okay, so what we do, we apply with the map function, we apply a lambda function to this my list, and what this lambda does, it multiplies each value by 2, right? And then this map returns a map object, which is then converted to a list. And then this list is printed. So each value multiplied by 2 will result in 2, 4, 6, 8, and this will be a list. And this will be printed. So 2, 4, 6, 8 will be printed. Okay, now it is a little bit interesting. Maybe I'm missing something because it's not supposed to print like that with the spaces, right? It's supposed to print the list value. So maybe I'm missing something here. Lambda. So map lambda, we apply the function to my list with the map function. Okay, so lambda is applied to each item here, which produces the map object, which is then converted to a list. I see no better option actually to choose. It is not ideal. What I think it will print kind of the list notation. So there will be the brackets, there will be commas between the items. So it will print it this way. This is interesting. I will mark this question for review anyway, because this is something interesting to take a look. What is the sys as to the out stream normally associated with? Standard output is normally associated with the screen. What is the expected output of the following snippet? We have class defined, we have a constructor, and we create an instance of this class, and we pass class string as the argument, and then we print it. Okay. We created, we self-name, we set the private variable as this string class. Okay, and then we just print this a. Okay, what this will print? It will print a string ending with a long hexadecimal number, because we do not define in this class any dunder str function, right? Stringifier or whatever it's called, which means that the default object class stringifier will be used, and this just prints some something which includes the address in the memory where this object resides in hexadecimal format. What is the expected behavior of the following piece of code? We have a dictionary 1, 2, 3, 0 with some values, x equals 0, for y in range of length of d. Okay, so length of this d will be 1, 2, 3, 4 items. So range 4, which means y will be changing 0, 1, 2, 3. There will be 4 iterations overall. And what we do here, we take the x value and we redefine it as d of x. Okay, so d is not changing. This is good news. D of, and let's track the x value. So on the first iteration, d x will be redefined as d of x. D of 0 is this one, so it will take the value of 1. Okay, good. Then next iteration, we redefine this x again with d of x, and x is now 1, right? So what it will do, it will take the value 1 and use it as a key, so it will redefine x as 0. Then one more time, redefine d as x as d of x, d of 0, so it will be again 1. And then one more time, x d of with the index of 1, which is this one, is 0. Okay, so x will be changing as 1, 0, 1, 0, and the final value of x will be printed out. And this will be this value. So the code will output 0. What is the expected output of the following code? We define a function a, and we define a function b within this function. We return the double of the value x, and here from function b, and in function a we return b, the function b itself. This is what is called closure in Python, and let's see how it will work with our invocations. X will be a of x, okay. Y will be a of empty string, right? And what we do, we print the invocations of these two things. So x is actually a function, which is defined like that, and y is another function, which is defined like that. Right? So what it will do when it will invoke x, it will call b with this string a, and it will return a, because it will do the concatenation here, right? And then it will invoke y with an empty string, and it will invoke b with an empty string as a kind of as x, and it will do nothing, right? It will return empty string plus empty string. It will return empty string, and what we will get overall is just AA printed. Or it's actually x, sorry about that. So it's XX will be printed. What is the name of the directory folder created by Python used to store PYC files? So PYC is for Python cache, and the directory name is PyCache. How many empty lines will the following snippet send to the console? Okay, so what we do here, we do a list comprehension for C in range R. Okay, for R in range 3, so this will generate R0, 1, 2, right? And for each of these, what we do, we are okay. At R0, it will generate an empty list. At R1, it will generate a list with just one item, 0, and here it will generate a list with just two items, 0 and 1, right? And all these will be put in a list like that, I believe. So now we go over this my list for length, and if length of element is less than 2, so length here will be 0, 1, 2 here, we print an empty line. Okay, so it will print empty line here, and empty line here because these numbers are less than 2, but it will not print an empty line for these two because it equals to this value. Yeah, and the answer is 2 because this will print 2 empty lines. What PEP operation would you use to check what Python packages have been installed so far? So this operation is called list, and this is PEP list. What is the expected behavior of the following code? We have a string, multi-string defined like that with 3 quotation marks, and we print the length of this string. So although there is kind of nothing between these triple quotes, there is the end, the line end character here, right? The break character. So because of that, the length of this string will be 1. And this code will output 1. What is PEP 8? Document that describes the development and release schedule for Python versions. No. A document that describes an extension to Python's import mechanism which improves sharing of Python source code files. Not correct. A document that provides coding conventions and style guide for the C code comprising the C implementation of Python. No, it has nothing to do with C. A document that provides coding convention and style guide for Python code. And this is what PEP 8 is. What value will be assigned to the X variable? Okay, let's see. Z is 2, Y is 1, and what will be happening here? First of all these comparisons will be done. So Y is less than Z, this will result in true. Z is more than Y, this will also result in true because these are exactly the same. Y is more than Z will result in false. And Z is less than Y will also result in false. Okay, so we have these values. Now, then the logical operations will be done in a way of, first of all, will be done the logical multiplication, right? And this is AND, this operation. So true and false will result in false. And then what will be done? These ORs, true or false, will result, so these two will result in true, and this false or false, and this, sorry, this way, then false and true, these two guys will result in true, right? So the result of all this expression will be true. What is the expected behavior of the following snippet? We define a function, we return 1 if the value is basically if it is odd, otherwise we return true. And we invoke this function 2 times. So on this first invocation, let's see, we pass 1 as x. So 1 modulus 2 equals is not equals 0. Yes, this will be true. So then it will return 1. Am I right? So again, 1 modulus 2, and yes, so this is not equal to 0. This will result in 1. And again, the same function will be called with the same parameter. It will also result in 1 being returned. So this output should print 1. I hope I'm not mixing up anything. Okay, what is the expected output of the following code? We have a class defined with a class parameter, class attribute. We have also the constructor, and we check whether class A has attribute of A. Yes, this will result in true because there is the class A and it has the class attribute capital A, and this is not a problem for Python, so it should resolve to true. Select the true statements, and we will need to select 2. The first parameter of a class method must be named self. Yes, that looks that looks correct. The first parameter of a class method does not have to be named self. No, this is opposite. However, I'm not sure about the first one because you can name it like anything you want. Self is just a convention. But let's check other answers. If a class contains the init method, it cannot return any value. Yes, this is correct. The constructor should not include, should not return any value. If a class contains the init method, it can return a value. Okay, so this is correct. And I'm going to change my mind on these two guys because the first parameter of a class method does not have to be named self. As I said, self is just a convention. It is highly recommended to use self to indicate as a first parameter to pass the object instance itself, but it doesn't have to be named self, strictly speaking. So I will go with these two options. What is the expected result of executing the following code? We have class A, class B, and class C defined. C is the subclass of both of them. Is subclass C of A? Yes, this is correct. C is subclass of A, and is it subclass of B? And this is also correct. So an AND logic here, true and true, will print true. A package directory folder may contain a file intended to initiate the package. What is its name? The file name is init.py and init is a dunder. What is true about the following piece of code? Print A, B, C using a single quotation mark as a separator. Yes, so it will print A, B, C like that, I believe. Yes, I see no problem here. Select the true statements. PyP, short for Python Package Installer. Okay, probably. No, I'm not sure about this. PyP is one of many existing Python repositories, and this is correct. PyP is the kind of primary Python repository. PyP is short for Python Package Index. PyP is the only existing Python repository. Yes, so it is Python Package Index, and it is one of the many existing Python repositories. What is the expected effect of running the following code? We define a class with a constructor, we create an instance, and we print this this value, right? So instance 0, so this will be 0, this will take the value of 1 because of this addition here, and then we'll just print this value. There is no problem with using the underscore here, it is just a convention. One will be printed in the output. What is the expected output of the following snippet? We have try, we raise exception, except, base exception, else, print. Okay, so what it will print, because we raise exception, it will be caught, and base exception is more general than exception, so that's why it will print A. So A will be printed, else will not be invoked, not be executed, because it will only execute if there was no exception raised. And finally will always be executed, so it will print AC. What is true about the following snippet? We define a function with 3 parameters, dkv, and we assign something, my dictionary, and we call this function with my dictionary 1 and v. Okay, dictionary 1 and v. Okay, what it will output? Yes, so this function has to return something, which And this return would be printed by the print command. And it does not return anything implicitly. And in Python, if you do not return anything implicitly, means that you return the none value, right? Whatever happens in the function here doesn't matter, because it will only return nothing, the none value, and none value will be printed. If the class constructor is declared as below, then we have a class, we have a constructor, which one of the assignments is valid? Okay, we have only self argument here, which means we can instantiate this class only that way, because self is a parameter which is used to take in the object itself, and that means there are no other parameters here. And because of that, what we need to do, we just need to the only way we can instantiate it is with this class with no parameters. Which line properly invokes the function defined as below? So we have A and B as positional parameters and C as the keyword parameter. So what we can do, we can invoke it this way, A and B and C. I think this is possible. Yes, this invocation is not correct because we are addressing the same. This is 1 and C. This is not correct order. And I think this was the correct answer. I hope. Yeah. Okay. That was tight in terms of time. And I barely made it with the last question, but we nailed it.